From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty crime stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work. We will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. And more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America. And more importantly, God bless our victims.
Well, good morning, my beautiful coffee beans. It is TGI Friday. And we've got a lot of stuff on the Sebastian Rogers case coming to you. Stay tuned. We're looking into Chris Proudfoot. I think we might be onto something, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to put your comments down below. Let's brainstorm about this. See you soon.
Well, good morning, my beautiful people. It is nice to see you this morning. I've got to say, we are up early this morning. I'm going to be going over a lot with you guys because we are going to be breaking down the case related to Sebastian Rogers. We are going to be talking about this man right here, Christopher Proudfoot. Christopher Proudfoot has taken a lead role in our drama production over this little boy. His name is Sebastian Rogers. He's a 15-year-old autistic boy that went missing in Hendersonville, Tennessee. We're all learning about this boy. We're all loving this boy. And we're just trying to figure out what in the world happened, right? Sebastian Rogers, according to his mother, Katie Proudfoot, they went out on the 25th. The 25th of February was a Sunday. Apparently it was a great day, a beautiful day. They enjoyed their day. They went to several different places. We were told they went to BJ's. They ended up going to a bowling alley, which happened to be in the shopping plaza with the Texas Roadhouse. They went over to the Texas Roadhouse, ate food, got up, left, headed home. Sounds like they had a normal evening. Went to bed around 9 o'clock. Mom went to bed around midnight. Then we hear that there's something going on out there in the backyard or somewhere in the environment. So we've been looking into it. We've been blowing up photos, looking at videos, trying to make heads or tails of what we're seeing. And then so we started talking about Christopher Proudfoot because a lot of us, not everybody's going to agree with this. Some people think I have team members, mods that think Katie's responsible. I've got mods that believe Chris is responsible. And of course, we got a lot of people in between. So we decided, okay, let's start putting some of these theories to test. What we believe that whatever happened inside that home. That's the way we believe. Whether it's true or not, this is how we're believing. This is what we're processing. This is how we're analyzing this stuff. So what is going to make somebody do something like this, right? So we start looking at their past behaviors. Let's talk about some of those things. What do we know for fact? We know that Seth told us that Christopher Proudfoot reached out to him to take Sebastian because Christopher and Katie were having marital problems. We've learned about a belt incident that happened. We were told it was 2 or 3 years ago. We find out that it happened just in January. And the Department of Children and Family Services were involved. We don't believe that they asked him to leave. We believe he just packed up his stuff and decided to stay in his camper. Remember, he had acknowledged not being home for a month. So we're asking, why would somebody hate this boy so much? Hate this boy so much that they want to do this? I think we've got a lot of the behind the scenes stuff when it comes to Christopher Proudfoot, guys. We've learned a lot. During our research, we found out that Katie Proudfoot was in the first position on the mortgage as well as their deed on their property. That tells us a few things. It tells us, one, that Katie Proudfoot is most likely the breadwinner and or has better credit than Christopher Proudfoot. That's what that says. So then we start looking into how is Katie making more money than Christopher Proudfoot? So we look into it. Look, everybody's trying to say that this family is not getting SSDI, which is the Social Security Disability. I'm calling BS. I absolutely think, because I heard at the beginning that Katie Proudfoot actually had to cancel and did cancel her services or whatever income or whatever services and benefits that she was receiving from her son. I remember hearing that early on. Here's Sebastian Rogers. So we're looking at this. We found out that Chris Proudfoot maybe makes about $20-something an hour. Okay, they're living in almost $1 million property, guys. Okay, I don't think I can express this to you in enough sentences about Christopher Proudfoot. They were about to lose that SSDI payment, which could have been $1,200, $1,400. It could be all as far as $2,000 a month that they're receiving. We don't know what the amount is, but they are receiving something. If they have over $1 million worth of assets and Christopher Proudfoot's only making $20 an hour, I would have to venture to say that they are mostly likely living well above their means. Everybody keeps thinking the Bower Sox have all this money and stuff like that. They're just like the rest of us. I looked into them too. There's no elaborate amount of money. As a matter of fact, their house doesn't. I think their house is like a half the cost of the Proudfoot's home. They don't have a whole lot of money. Everybody's embellishing this. I think the issue is they were living well beyond their means, but it's not just that. Somebody says the disability cap at $943 a month. That's what somebody just said. It's all in the flow. Just said it's $943 a month is capped as the disability. When I was reading it for children, though, the SSDI was based upon the parent's income. We went through the entire thing. We went through the SSA, and the way it was written, the way it works is that whatever benefits that child gets is based upon the parent's Social Security disability benefit. I didn't know that. So whatever that benefit is, and I know that changes based upon the amount that you pay into your Social Security Administration. I just read all of this last night. So maybe the $943 is a cap on adults. I don't know, because everything I've read when it comes to disability, not Social Security, disability, SSDI, it is based on the income and the amount of money that you paid into your Social Security. He's pulling money off of his parents' Social Security money, from the understanding that from everything that we read. And you can look that up. It's all on the SSDI, but you have to make sure you're looking at the children. And it says, yes, it's capped at, hold on. Jennifer Sullivan says, yes, it's capped at $943, not for kids. It's the same. My kids only get $934. So I think it's either way. So we have about $1,000 that they're getting. You're talking about a family that is most likely living paycheck to paycheck. That's what I'm believing. Christopher Proudfoot, we looked into him. He's a heavy crane operator, but when we look into his certification, he was only certified in 2019. So he's a very green crane operator. So when we look at the crane operators and what new crane operators get, entry-level crane operators get, is anywhere between $32,000 and $40,000 a year. That equates about $20-something an hour. That is well, too little to be living in $1 million homes, or having $1 million worth of assets. So Christopher, he's not the breadwinner, okay? He's having marital problems. Guys, Christopher Proudfoot was about to lose everything. He was about to lose everything. He was about to lose the custody of his daughter. He was about to get divorced from his wife. His wife held the keys to all of his property because she was the breadwinner and she's the one on the first position. Everybody's wondering, why are they selling this house? They can't afford it. I really believe that Christopher Proudfoot is about to lose everything. He owns nothing. None of it is his. And when he looks at Sebastian, he blamed Sebastian for literally all of it. The marital problems with his wife, the fact that he couldn't get the custody of his daughter. And we know how he feels when $1 goes out of his pocket to somebody else, especially for somebody else's kids, right? We heard the whole Nina situation. What did he do to Nina when she went after him to take money out of his pocket? He tried to take her daughter. Now, this is all allegedly theory. This is what we're doing behind the scenes. We're looking at every aspect of this man's life to make heads or tails of why we are here. And it sounds to me like this man despised this boy, and we can't figure out why. And when we pull back all the layers, we realize Christopher Proudfoot is broke. He was about to lose his entire, he had, this beautiful home, all these toys. He looked like an image. He had more than anybody in his family. He was living higher on the hog than anybody in his family. They're having marital problems. Once his wife divorces, he knows she's getting the house and everything else. She's in the first position. He was married 5 times. So tell me what you would do if you had built this life, lived in this beautiful home, and now you got this child that you think is a predator. I think he manifested the predator argument to get him out of the house. And I think when he realized the SSDI was going to be going with Sebastian, I don't think he trusted Seth. And I think he, what did it say? This isn't meant to be rude, just curious what this has to do with Sebastian's disappearance. A lot. Motive means everything. How are we going to locate Sebastian in a really wide world when we're still trying to decide why we're in this position to begin with? Don't you think that it really matters who could have committed this crime before you can locate somebody? And again, that's just a serious question. I mean, we have to understand what happened in order for us to follow where to go. Who did it? Was it Katie? If Katie did it, wouldn't potentially he be in a different location than say if Seth did it? Or if Seth, or Chris Proudfoot, wouldn't he be probably in a different place? Or, so each person has their things. We're focusing on Christopher Proudfoot. I think motive is very, very important when it comes to something like this, because let's face it, in order for a crime to happen, we have to have several things, right? Motive, means, opportunity. Who had all those? And why? You could have means and opportunity, but if you have no motive, he would still be here. In my opinion, it's very irrelevant. It's very relevant. It's important. We need to find out the why. Why are we here? Christopher Proudfoot. That's why we're here. I truly believe. I truly believe that we're going to find out that man was on the verge of losing everything. And we're going to find out he blamed Sebastian Rogers. And that is most likely why we are in the position that we are in. Because people have been bouncing around between Katie and Chris. And I keep trying to figure out what Katie's motive would be. None of it's Katie's motive. Even the people that say that they believe that this family stashed Sebastian somewhere, which I don't believe. I don't think anybody would go through all of this to hide somebody. So it just doesn't seem to hold water for me. But I know it holds water for some people. So we are looking at that. But if for any reason Sebastian is out there, we need to know. But right now, we're learning that his mom would have kept everything. There's a point in here where we heard Chris say something. I don't know if it was in text message. I don't know if we heard it from Seth. I don't know if it was a text message to his wife or to somebody else. But I remember him saying something, I hope when you make the decision, you choose your son. And it gave me the creeps. They were having some major marital problems, so much so that Christopher Proudfoot refused to come home. He had not been home since the beginning of February, allegedly. I'm having a hard time believing it. But if I believe that Chris acted without Katie knowledge, I think she knows something now, then he snuck into his own house. Why would he do that? What does this 15-year-old boy hold? He holds the key to everything. I think this boy was about to take Christopher Proudfoot down, and Christopher Proudfoot couldn't handle it, and we know his behavior. And then on top of all that, he's been trying to come out here and convince all of us that he's not this monster, right? He even said that. I can't believe people are looking at me. I'm not this monster. You guys will see. The truth will come out. And the only time I start hearing people say monster are usually people that are in short order are getting arrested and thrown in jail for being that very monster. Why is he so insecure? Why is he so concerned that everybody's going to look at him like a monster? That's psychological. Why? Because he looks at himself like a monster? Why did they run away from the home? Is it because they can't stand what went on in that house? Neither one of them can look at that house anymore? Something is going on here. And when you look at it, when you really peel back the onion, why is Katie and Chris working so hard to distance himself so far from that house? So far. Putting him 3.5 hours away. He's the only one that's the furthest away. And then when he comes into town, cops only want to ride along with him to show him certain areas. A man that hasn't been there for a month. I don't know, guys. And then let's talk about that image, right? Those videos that everybody's trying to convince us is a garbage truck. We've been working around the clock reviewing that. We even put together videos. I can't show you because it's part of our work product behind the scenes. And of course, we have to be careful because I've been throwing a lot of my maps up, and that's going to be defeating because if they're monitoring our movements and we're getting warm, it's giving them a heads up before we get there. So I have to be cognizant of that. And we are trying to find Sebastian, and we're trying not to have any more interference from the Bowersox or the Proudfoots in those efforts. They need to search the landfill. They did. They have. I don't know if they're continuing to do so. And then, of course, the whole thing about the pond, was that staged? It almost feels like there's a staging element to that. I mean, I just can't imagine that it's old. But we definitely know whatever happened, it appears that they parked in that community that's being built, that's right over behind them. I looked at that. I looked at the video that we're looking toward the house. Those lights that came on, people are looking at those lights. Those lights look like floodlights to me. It looks like somebody turned on outside lights of their house, which further confuses me because if they turn the outside, something was going on over there. And we know that there was a neighbor that's across the street that has Ring doorbell cameras. I just can't imagine that those Ring doorbell cameras picked up no lights and has no possibility of explaining where those light sources came from or what that large light that just popped on was. They've got to have video because according to them, the house across the street from the Proudfoots have a freaking Ring doorbell camera. And they're trying to say that they don't see anything, that there is no evidence. To me, just doesn't really make sense, especially on that side of the house where the vans are parked, are where the two, I believe the two floodlights, it might be on the carriage house. I have to go back and look and see if, not the carriage house, but the carriage garage. I got to find out if it's on the two floodlights that stay on all day or on the main garage or the carriage garage. But it's one or the other. I think it's the ones toward the back of the house, though, but I can't be sure. I have to go back and look. But that's really what I think is going on. And so we were going back and forth because Christopher Proudfoot, again, also told us that, what is it? I'm losing my train of thought here. Sorry, guys. It's early in the morning, and I was up late last night with the team, just going, spitballing through all of this, trying to figure out the motive. And when we started realizing that Chris was broke and he was about to lose everything, he was about to lose his wife, he was about to lose his home because he can't afford it, right? He's only making $20-something an hour. I don't even know how somebody making $20 an hour is affording a $600,000, almost $700,000 property. That right there is insane to me. It's insane. So how in the world they were able to pull this off, it just tells me I feel like they were living well beyond their means. I feel like they were living paycheck to paycheck. They were having financial problems. They were having marital problems. Everything was this boy's fault. He was starting to, become a teenager. So they're dealing with his disability as well as all the things that go along with a teenager. Just because he's not mentally developed yet, his body is still going through the changes of a 15-year-old boy, whether he's prepared for them or understands them or not. And we know 15-year-old kids are not cakewalk. You raise your hand if you got an angel for a 15-year-old. I'm waiting. I ain't holding my breath, babe. I was 15. We all were. When did we give our parents an easy time? I'm asking. We didn't. So he's dealing with the disability. We got a man that's a hothead that doesn't do well with children. And he's blaming this kid because all of his marital problems are from this boy. Them having to sell their house because they have to make this boy leave because they can't deal with him anymore. And that extra $1,000 is about to go to Seth, but they're making a crap ton of money now. What if Seth decides he wants child support? Would Chris really risk somebody coming and taking more of his money? We know how he feels about his money. Remember, Nina, he'd rather take her child than give her $1 of child support. We cannot forget that. That's a behavior. And he looked at her like, shut up. I think we did find the motive. I think it was financial. In all these cases that we cover religiously, we always say follow the money. But we're not following the money here. And I think if we follow the money, we'll realize that there's little of it. There's a lot of debt and a little bit of that money. I truly believe this family. So zero evidence against them. I don't think so. RJs, think about it. Think about it. Let's talk about the evidence. The little bit of evidence that we have. The little bit of evidence. RJs, I truly believe the lack of evidence is the evidence. Because of the lack of evidence, to me, it feels like it's a cleanup. Now, if this boy just walked out of the house, what's the purpose of the cleanup? Everybody leaves evidence behind. RJ, I guarantee no matter where you are right now, you just left your DNA. I bet you if you're at a counter or in your kitchen, you're probably drinking your cup of coffee. You're leaving, you're shedding skin cells as we're talking about this. Your hair is falling out. You're touching something, leaving your fingerprint. You're touching something, leaving your DNA, a speck of DNA. You're moving around, so you might get some shadowing on your outdoor cameras from the lights from the inside of your house, and you pull in front of your house, and your shadow going out the window. You're kicking on your alarm, your security cameras. All of this is gone. No evidence. Very, very limited evidence. Can you explain that to me? Because I got to tell you, I can guarantee if I walk out this door, there's going to be a crap ton of evidence. You know why? Because my hair's, you look at this. I bet you I can pull. I got long hair, so you can just go like this and you'll pull a strand out, right? I bet you I'm going to leave a strand going all the way out to my mailbox. I bet you I'm leaving my DNA on my mailbox handle. I'm going to drag my garbage out. I'm sure I'm going to hit on that. Nothing? The only thing they hit on was possibly a garbage bin in the next community over? I don't know. Just something to think about. But I think the lack of evidence in this case is their biggest piece of evidence. It sounds crazy, but to me, whenever I look at this stuff and I see no evidence, How can there be no evidence unless somebody is intentionally trying to remove evidence? Because we leave evidence literally everywhere. And especially with all the new technology in DNA, we don't even need, a gallon of freaking blood out of us anymore. I mean, all we need is a molecule of spit, right? A molecule of spit. Or in the case of Brian Koberger, literally one speck, one molecule of DNA. One speck. Yeah. Yeah. And let me tell you, the Idaho 4 was not cleaned up, right? They didn't clean the Idaho 4 up. When the police got there, it was a mess of evidence that they had to go through. So we go from one scene that wasn't cleaned up, that has a mess of evidence to it, to another scene that has no evidence. No evidence. No evidence. Think about that. That is the biggest piece of evidence. I think they're going to get this case. This case, to me, is going to be another digital case. It's going to be another Brian, like a little bit of a Brian Koberger case in the sense I truly believe it's going to be traffic cameras, automobile data, and telephone data that's going to really seal the fate of this case. I do believe that law enforcement is looking at this. I do believe that they're looking square at Christopher and Katie Proudfoot. A lot of rumors are going around right now about Seth Rogers' polygraph test. We did find out from Seth Rogers. Now, you guys have to understand, Seth Rogers is in a lot of pain. He's been put on from a doctor, and he's going to physical therapy right now for his shoulder. When he was searching, he injured himself. And apparently he was falling asleep during this polygraph test. And I'm just kind of floored because I was always taught that if you're on medication, you can't take a polygraph. A seasoned polygraph administrator, as soon as he found out that Seth was on a medication that altered his state of mind, especially the fact that we know that he's been working around the clock and has been sleep deprived. This test taker should have, in my opinion, stopped the test and told him to rest, and that they would take a test another day and, explain to him, we're going to need you off the medication for about 24 hours. That to me, we don't know the results of his test, but when I heard that he fell asleep, I'm like, we know Seth's story. We know that he's been out there beating the pavement. He's been sleeping in his car, just to be able to be around so he can get out there on foot and post flyers and get in the woods and search for his son. So it's been very, very, very difficult for him. And I just really believe that, we rely on these polygraph administrators to do their job and to do their job well. I have always known, and this is from the Layla, Jen Santinello can confirm this, but there, in the Layla Santinello case, which is another one of our cases in Tennessee, when I spoke to Jennifer, she had told me that at some point, I think they tried to give Michael Thompson, which is Layla Santinello's boyfriend, a lie detector test, but he was so messed up. And they said they cannot do it while he is on narcotics or medication. He needs to be sober because it alters the test. And it just kind of upsets me because we definitely know that Seth is not sober. I mean, he's on gabapentin. I mean, he's telling us what he's on. I had surgery before. They put me on gabapentin. It if I remember correctly, it kind of, made me drowsy, really drowsy. I'm ultra sensitive too because Benadryl, I take one Benadryl, I'm knocked out for 8 to 10 hours. That's just on one Benadryl. I've watched people take 2 and I'm like, oh my God, I'd be in a coma. So it takes, I take it daily for MS and it makes me exhausted. Yeah. So to me, I feel like the administrator, he's supposed to be a professional. He's supposed to know this, and he should have taken one look at Seth and asked him, have you taken, that's one of the standard questions they ask you. Have you consumed any drugs or alcohol this morning? You answer yes or no. If your answer is yes, the test stops. So pain medicine makes you sleepy as well. Yeah. But I do think we found out the motive in in Chris. We've also found out that Chris lied again. Chris also said that they were not getting SSDI for Sebastian. They weren't getting any kind of help for Sebastian, and that's not true. Sebastian has a rare disease where he's deficient a chromosome. So he has like a chromosome type of therapy to help fix that. We also learned from Seth that Sebastian didn't have any type of outburst, that when he had an outburst, he'd throw his hands to his side and stomp his feet. We found out that that's not true. We found out that Sebastian had a bad habit. When he lost his cool, he would hurt himself, bite himself, injure himself. And my biggest question is, especially with him being around Christopher Proudfoot, how many of those injuries did they blame on Sebastian that were provided by Chris? Because they could absolutely hide those injuries by saying that Sebastian did it to himself, because he's got a well-documented court file that says he hurts himself. So that is prime for somebody that would like to hurt somebody or doesn't care about somebody. All they'd have to say is, I didn't do it. He did it to himself. It's well documented. That to me is sad. It's concerning. And we know that Chris would do something like that. Hell, he's already doing it, right? With the belt incident. Well, I just disciplined him. God knows what he's saying to the CPS worker. He did this to himself. He's got a well-documented history. Go look, ma'am. Right? But telling us, oh, he would get in trouble if he did it again. The lady told him not to be calling and making false reports to an autistic kid, right? Going to an autistic kid and saying, hey, don't ever call us again, otherwise you're going to get in trouble. We might take you to jail. I don't see any social worker doing that. Who believes that? That's what Chris would like us to believe. It's financial. I think Chris's house of cards were falling in on him. He was going to lose his house. He was going to lose his wife. He wouldn't be able to get, because now he doesn't have the image. He doesn't have the big, beautiful home anymore. Now it's going to affect him getting custody of his daughter, which he wasn't going to get anyways. But see, in his sick, twisted mind, he thinks he was going to go into court and he was going to get full custody of his daughter. And that gold-digging bitch, Nina, wasn't getting a damn dollar of his, right? That kind of man. I wonder what he would do to a boy that's about to take his house of cards and bring him to the ground. Well, if he was going to take his daughter away from Nina, I think he'd probably make a boy disappear. I don't know. Just spitballing over here. Right? As you can see, I'm not really a happy camper when it comes to this case. My team and I have been working literally around the clock. I went into my chat. I finally fell out last night about midnight. I went into my chat and my team was still working at 2 and 3 o'clock this morning, trying to figure out what's going on with this boy. And everything keeps coming back to the same thing. There was marital problems. He was living away from home. He wouldn't even come home. He wanted this boy gone. We know he wanted this boy gone. How do we know that? Because it was him that reached out to Seth to say, you got to take your boy back. It's causing me too many marital problems, right? Too many marital problems. Then we find out that Katie is the purse. So when Katie walks out the door, guess what? So does Chris's lifestyle, Mr. $20 an hour. Chris's lifestyle's out the door now. He's losing his house, all of his beautiful toys. He's going to look like a punk and a bitch in front of all of his guys at work, huh? Those damn women. Those damn women, right? This would have made number 6. I don't know. It seems like he was pretty angry with somebody. Seemed like a lot of his anger was directed at this somebody right here. And guess what? This somebody right here is no longer here. And we're trying to figure out what happened. And some people say the motive is irrelevant. We had somebody up here earlier, if you guys are just coming in, that says, how does this have anything to do with finding Sebastian? How does it not? How can you look for somebody if you don't even know who did something to him? But I do believe something happened to this boy right here. I believe it happened inside his home. And I don't believe Katie and Chris are going to be able to hide the evidence from the forensic team. We need the forensic team inside that home. And it really, really burns my grits that we're here 6 weeks later and we have no freaking forensics. But hey, we're supposed to keep our mouths shut. We're not supposed to say anything because we're only supposed to get information from the reliable source, law enforcement, that refuses to tell us anything and looks like they don't even know what the flip they're doing. I do believe that they've got a lot of information. I do believe that they're looking square at Seth Rogers, not Seth Rogers, Chris Proudfoot. And I do believe that is indicated by that ride-along. Nobody gets a ride-along, okay? Nobody gets a ride-along, especially a guy that was 3.5 hours away that has nothing to do with the case. That ride-along would have been special and served for Katie Proudfoot or Seth Rogers, two people that were much closer in proximity to that house than, say, Chris's bullshit story. We're also hearing he might not have worked on Monday. I really don't believe that. I don't believe that he would have worked only 4 days, maybe 4 12-hour days or whatever. I've been in construction for a really long time, and I've always known construction workers to work 5 days a week, off the weekends. That's always been the way it is. But could it be? Could they be working around the clock on that St. Jude's? I don't think they're working around the clock. I think they're off nights and weekends. I think the construction stops nights and weekends. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'll find out, right? I'll be out there for a week. I'm pretty sure I'll be out there on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'll go by St. Jude's and see if there's a lot of construction going on or if the construction's shut down. If the construction's shut down on the weekends, we got our answer. There is no possibility he was working. So next question is he working 4 days a week or 5 days a week? Because we're hearing rumors that he didn't work on Mondays. This just so happens to be a Monday. So I don't know what's true and what's not true. So we got to find out. Do they work Mondays? Was he off Mondays? I just don't know of people in that kind of business only working 4 days a week. It's a construction. Like, construction's a 5-day-a-week job. Yeah, hardly ever works weekends. Yeah. I work in a hospital. Okay, let's see. Some people are starting to respond here. Let's see what they say. I work in a hospital. We had recent construction. The workers came in, worked nights and weekends. Yeah, but hospitals are different. And so you got to work when you have, just like roads, there's certain times that you have less people coming in and it's easier to do the construction. Those are special things, and I can't guarantee the nights and weekends they're paying prime dollar to have that. Most places won't do that, especially when they're building huge buildings and stuff like that. I don't know. Nights and weekends, yes. There are people that do, just like our roadways. That's prime opportunity for our roadway constructions is nights and weekends. Well, not necessarily weekends, but definitely nights, because it's lower stuff in. But no, we definitely know that there is construction that happens on nights and weekends. But those are special. That's not normal. That's contractual. So that means that when they were doing the contract, that's what they had agreed to. But that's not we're not looking for the outliers. We're looking for the norm, I guess, is probably the way to explain that. But yes, there is construction on nights and weekends, for, of course, depending on that. I can only imagine, but don't blame yourself. You wasn't around. Yeah, but I just feel like I feel like in a grand scheme of things, we're kind of missing the boat when it comes to this case. I think we missed the boat because we couldn't figure out why. We kept thinking it was because of this custody arrangement with Faith. I mean, that's what I was stuck on for a long time, that he was angry because this whole CPS thing was going to, make him where he couldn't get his daughter. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, but he would still get custody. It just doesn't seem like it's plausible. And then we kept digging and digging and digging. And then we started seeing something very noticeable. And it was Katie. Katie's the breadwinner. Katie's the purse. Chris is the one living outside the home. He's trying to get rid of her son. There was major marital problems. And trust me, that mother was about to start blaming him for everything. Their problems were about to explode. Their household was unraveling. It was spiraling out of control. And Christopher was a desperate man that was about to lose frickin' everything. And I mean everything. The house, the dogs, the wife, the image, right? The image. He was about to lose that image of living in $1 million home and having all these nice things and being the king of the hill. He was about to go down. We know how he values that image, and it was about to be plastered all over, and we are now over with wife number 5. He was about to be living in that camper full time with no choice. That's enough to make any man go nuts. He hated this boy. This goes well beyond this boy causing him problems in a custody hearing. He was about to make Chris lose everything. Think about that. What do desperate men do? Think about that. Now, again, this is all just my spitballing with my team. Might be something that you guys can use, but there are financial problems. I would not be surprised one iota if this family was living paycheck to paycheck. It seems like they were living well beyond their means, and they were just about to get about $1,000 more knocked off. That $1,000 was probably their saving grace every single month, and that was about to walk out the door. So, and I truly believe that that's why they're having to sell the house. I don't think that they can afford it. I really don't. I don't think they could afford it back then. I think they were barely making ends meet. And now with all this extra stuff, minus the $1,000, they have no choice. I don't think they can afford it. I think this is all of it. And the reason why Katie can't stay in there is because of what happened. Her son is gone. What mother leaves the house, the last place that she saw her child? You tell me. Like, I've been around a lot of grieving moms, and some of the grieving moms haven't even touched the room, won't shut the door, and can't even look at the room. Can't even look at the room, but will be damned if they leave their house, because what if that slim chance of their child walking back in that door? I've watched the mental anguish of losing a child on a parent. I've watched their behavior, their pain, their agony. You know what? And a mom's face is always the same. A mom's face is always the same. But yet, hey, everybody wants to convince us that everybody has their own way of grieving, right? Because that will explain why somebody isn't showing emotion, if we can explain it like that, right? Well, it's kind of funny because every mom that I saw that's missing a child and knows her child's gone seems to have a pretty standard face. Doesn't seem like it changes from mother to me. But hey, you know, what do I know? I'm just an idiot on YouTube and TikTok, right? Anyways, guys, I hope you guys are learning something. I hope you guys, you know, we're getting down there. We're doing the work. We've looked at the maps. We're identifying areas, and we also are identifying motives, means, and opportunities in this case too. Because trust me, when I come in and I start pointing my finger at somebody, I want to make sure that that finger is pointed at the right person and only the right person. I would never want to hurt or damage somebody else's reputation. And I believe we're onto something here. And I don't believe it has just to do with faith. I think Chris Proudfoot's whole entire house of cards were about to come crashing down to the ground, and he couldn't handle it. He lost it. And I truly believe that. So, whether mom was involved or not, we'll learn. But there is no possibility in my mind that anybody else could have harmed this boy other than Chris Proudfoot. Chris Proudfoot hated this boy. The anger and the dislike for this boy was overwhelming in Chris. So much so that he picked up the phone and called his dad and said, hey, we can't deal with him anymore. You need to come get him. He's going to your house. I can't deal with it anymore. I need to get my marriage back on track, and I need to get my daughter back in this home. Your son's a predator. He's going to arm my daughter. Let's not forget that. In addition to all that, he looked at this man like he was going to arm. And I think that was just an excuse. I think he just didn't like him. He hated this boy so much. Probably because him and Katie were having problems over the way he was disciplining her child. I guarantee they were having problems over the way he was disciplining her child. All right, guys, that's it for today. I will talk to you guys later. As more information develops, I will come back to you. But we were just spitballing about Chris and the financial problems and what he was making an hour. Because everybody's like, oh, big crane operators make a lot of money. And I'm like, wait a minute, but he just got a certification. He's really not that seasoned. He's pretty green. And I know in construction, you know, they look for green people, right? So they don't have to pay you very much, right? They're bottom dollar people too. If they can get somebody in there that has experience and needs some on the job training, and they can save themselves, you know, $10,000 a year by hiring this low, trust me, they're going to go. So he was probably on the lower end of the pay scale. So a seasoned, experienced crane operator typically gets the like $62,000, maybe $100,000 or less a year. But when you're not seasoned, when you're green, and green we all know is 5 years or less, 3 years or less, 2 years or less, right? He's only been doing this or had his certification since 2019. So he may not even have gotten his first job until 2020. So he's really hasn't been doing this type of work for a very long time. So, he would be on the lower end of the pay scale. So you have to look at that as well. And when you look at the lower end of the pay scale, you're looking about $40,000 a year. That equates to about $20 an hour. Guys, he's driving around in a $60,000 truck and living in almost a $700,000 home, making $20 an hour. Bingo. They're well beyond their means. They're well beyond their means. They're living on credit. They've got to be living on credit. There's no way. I'm curious. We're going to find out a lot of information as this rolls out, but I can tell you law enforcement, it sounds to me like they're going to start turning up the heat here shortly, and I can't wait until they do. But I got to tell you, I'm not feeling confident in this case, and I'm not feeling confident in law enforcement. Usually I get a good gauge of how I feel about law enforcement and how the progress of the case is going. And quite frankly, I feel like I'm dealing with Barney Fife, and I feel like nobody knows what the hell they're doing. And I don't like TBI. TBI, in my opinion, has done absolutely nothing for any of these cases. Nothing. I want to make sure that's clear. I got 4 cases that TBI's on, and you know what? They're all open. They're all unclear. TBI needs to get a clue. TBI needs to get a clue. And I think, you know what? As a matter of fact, I think once we're done covering this case, I think I'm going to start working with some of the victims' families on did Seth take a polygraph? Yes, he did. I think I'm going to be working with the families of the missing on doing some more community activism and bringing the community together. Maybe we'll do it at the TBI headquarters or something like that, because something's got to get done. I don't care what they do. They're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to start looking more into technology and finding out how to better do their job. They're failing, period. We can sit here and put lipstick on a pig all day long, but TBI is failing these cases over and over again. And we can sit there and act like, oh my God, TBI is involved. Nowadays, every time I hear TBI, I'm like, well, shit, this is another unsolved case. Let's move on. I mean, it sounds so heartless, doesn't it? It's how I feel. Make it make sense. It's how I feel. I've lost faith in TBI. I've lost faith in them. I lost faith in them when Summer Wells, when the parents of Summer Wells weren't even charged with abuse. I lost faith in Tennessee. So, I think it's time. You know what? I apply pressure to families, but I think this one, I think it's time for us to pressure law enforcement. I don't know. Sometimes pressuring law enforcement makes them work harder, makes them think further outside the box. They start finding ways and strategies to shut us up, right? It makes them work. They want to shut us up. And I want to give them a reason to shut us up. Oh, thank you, Shannon. God bless you. So maybe it's time to start pressuring law enforcement. Maybe it's time to start going out there and saying, TBI, I don't care what you're doing, but you're going to have to start doing it different. This ain't working for us. It's not working for us. These are our children. I'm sorry. And call me like a heartless bee all you want and clip this and blow it up or do whatever you need to do. But I can deal with an unsolved adult case more than I can deal with an unsolved child case. I'm sorry. Call me mean. But I have a problem. I'll deal with an adult all day long. You know what? It is what it is. But when you start monkey effing with our children and nothing's getting done, I got a problem with that. So we'll see what happens, guys. This is kind of where we are. We're just spitballing here. Oh, thank you. We're just spitballing here and just trying to find, some information, some explanation, right? I mean, that's really what the whole Christopher Proudfoot looking into and trying to find more about him is about. It's just so we can understand. It can be explained. We need to know what the hell happened. We're invested. I know I'm invested. I'm working around the clock. I got court in a couple days. I got court next week, right? And I've been working around the clock on this, and it's rough. It's rough. I can't stop thinking about it. Like literally, I go to bed talking about it. I wake up talking about it. I come straight here to the live. I prepare this live. I download it. I upload it on YouTube to get my audience things to talk about and some, content to listen to. And the rest of the day I'm working. The rest of the day I'm here studying maps, trying to make heads or tails of this. It's brainstorming with my team, trying to locate, and it's just like it gets a little rough at times. Oh, thank you guys. God bless you. Thank you guys. So that's kind of where we are. And then I wake up this morning and find out that my team was still talking at 3:00 this morning, and I'm waking up at 6. It's just and I know that our team's not unique. There's so many other teams just like mine that are doing the same exact thing all around this country, and quite frankly, all around this world. We got people in the UK doing the same thing. We got people in Canada doing the same thing. Like, we're working, we're trying, we're thinking outside the box. You guys don't understand what an uphill battle this is. When you look at those maps and see how much dense forestry's there, it's defeating. It really is defeating. And I just keep telling the team, you know what? It's one step at a time. That's all we need to do. We can't think of how much woods are out there. We can't think of how much dense forestry is out there. It literally is one step at a time. We just need to clear one step, just one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant, right? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And we have to remember that. This is going to be a long process, but hopefully we get leads and tips that lead us to his whereabouts. That's all we can pray for and hope for. But we're going to definitely never stop looking for him. And we're going out there on the 21st. So we'll have boots on the ground. Hopefully maybe things will settle there and tension will be down, which is what I said to begin with. I kind of wanted all the crazy to go away before I go in. And so maybe people will settle down and maybe be willing to talk about, or maybe they've had a time to process what happened and maybe are thinking of other things that maybe they heard or saw that might be beneficial, that maybe they weren't thinking about at the time. So hopefully some more information comes out. All we can do is just do our best and pray for this family, pray for this young boy, and pray that we can reunite him, healthy with his father. His father's worried sick. His father, I can tell you, when I look at his dad's face, I see a broken man. And it's sad because I see the brokenness in him, but I see the, let's save our own ass on the other side of the aisle, the Proudfoots. It's not about Sebastian. It's not about their brokenness. It's about keeping their head above water, keeping the image. And it's disturbing to me. And to think that this mother is allowing this. Like, if I was in this role, if this was any other thing, I would have told Chris to kick rocks until we figure this out. I would definitely not be following him around across this country, All right, guys, make it a great day. Oh, by the way, holy smokes, I've been working so hard. I forgot to tell you guys. Happy Friday! Happy Friday, you crazy kids! TGIF. So, guys, take care. I hope you learned something, but if nothing more, we know that Christopher Proudfoot is not the man that we think he is. He's not this rich guy. He makes $20, something like that, an hour. He's living beyond his means, and now we know why his image is what? Everything. Take care and God bless. See you soon.